Hey guys, it's me again, coming on strong. Hope you guys are feeling blessed, not stressed, no matter where you are. Now, I want to speak to the persons out there that are struggling. And what they're struggling with is walking from the fake persona self and moving and migrating to the real organic self. I'm talking about this because I'm at an apex point. I've been on this spiritual journey for some time, and I'm starting to see God's plan start to shine. It's like a clean slate. I've gone through many traverses, and I'm sure you guys have too. But I want to speak to those that are still in that state of flux, that are still in that state of understanding what it means to walk away from the fake persona and walk into the realness of our organic self. We're walking out of an old way of being, an old life, an old existence, and we are truly navigating a new world, a new existence, and a new self. But the ironic thing is actually we're reverting back to our oldest, truest version of self, the preset, the reset of self. Because when we come out into this world, we navigate and begin to navigate in our truest essence, the one that is intertwined with God, the one that doesn't care about what others think. And it's over time, the course of parents or siblings or guardians, society that molds this. Now, this can happen everywhere. As we get older, we're being molded and molded by school, we're being molded by career, we're being molded by friendship groups, we're being molded by television, media, we're being molded from the minute we come out. And we lose that attachment to the preset navigated soul self, our north star, whatever case you want to put it. And I can speak to this because I can say that for 25 long grueling years I spent in lostness of soul self, living in the parameters of everyone around me. I cared what people thought, I cared what my parents thought, I cared what my partner thought, I cared about everything around me except for me. And if you're someone who is here right now in that same place, going, what about me? What about God? What about what I'm supposed to do here now? Not what others are deeming for me. We're trapped in a box that tells us that sex sells, money sells, and realistically, the fake personas get put on us because we have to live in parameters outside of everything that is normal. We also could be in a scholastic entrapment where we don't feel like we're anything if we don't have an MBA or a doctorate degree, or we feel like we're nobody if our looks don't look a certain way, or if we're not, shaking our booty and flaunting the breastises out there in the world for those women out there, that we're only deemed worthy through our beauty and not through our mind or not through our soul. And I'm not saying that's everyone, and it goes the same for men. If you're not flexing the biceps, if you're not working out, if you're not a manly man, then you're lost to the wayside as well. We lose sight of who we truly are. We're in an age where money can outweigh all of this. You can have envy, you can have power, you can have fellowship with money. You could be the most degrading, soulless person, and yet, because you have money, everyone can override and overlook your disgrace and your dysfunction. You could be a disgusting human being, have money, and you still have persons around you trying to kiss your ass. And the same goes for a lot of people out there that are selling themselves and their bodies. And they're taking away from their true talent and using and cultivating that criteria. And I do feel for a lot of persons that are in, let's say, the music industry or artistry industry. Because right now we're being put up against things like AI or other persons that are willing to sell so much of their bodily self to get attention. But the thing is, in this age of light bearing and in this age that we're moving from the fake to the real or organic, meaning the spirit self or the ultimate I am, we can no longer live in these parameters. And I know this because in my old life, I spent like 25 grueling years trying to give away all of myself. I luckily held on to my soul. But being the it girl at parties or, having all these connections, be it through, getting any reservation I wanted or being able to enter any club or any resto lounge, lost its luster over time. You know what I mean? Because I might have had the lifestyle, I might have had the apartment, I might have had the car, the boyfriend, the friends, popularity, But I was truly sitting alone because not one of these people was in it for me, for who I truly was. Some of these people that I grew up with, and maybe you did too, they used to sit on their thrones of novelty because they had the houses and the cars and all this jazz. And they felt they could turn their noses up to anyone that was below them. And it was like I would sit, with my soul, and my soul would just cringe, or my higher self would just smite me. Not smite, but just, say, hey, wake up, lady. Because I would literally be surrounded by critical people, sometimes judgmental people, racist people, bigoted people, sexually perverse people. And it was all to keep up with the status quo. And I truly gave up all of that once I shed all of those layers of the fake and started stepping into the real. And yes, if you are in the stage of being, you too might have to give up a lot to be who you truly are. And this works in the spiritual community, the religious community too. We're all sitting here in this community going, oh, who's holier than thou? Who can recite the Bible better? Who knows all the verses? Who donates enough? Who volunteers better? Who volunteers more? You know, the spiritual community is like, oh, how much do you meditate? How zen are you? How together are you? How emotionally, you know, skilled are you? How much of a light bearer are you? And it's all equivocally made to put us into these juxtaposed competitions of self that don't exist by God or by source. We were never meant to be competing. We were never meant to play a chess game with others, sacrificing our souls in order to live to the beat of someone else's drum. Now, as we start to move more into God's plan, and you got to know God's plan is truly one that isn't arranged, it's not a chess game, and it only is met when you step into your truest self, your I am state. And that could take a lifetime, that could take a year, that could take 10 years. And the beauty of God's plan is that you step through that door whenever you get to that door. There are no time frames, and it's all the evolution of self that is needed. Nothing more, nothing less. You can't have any type of money to get into it. You can't have a lot of fellowship to arrive there. It's all in you. And through you that you get to that place of being. So some of us have to give up so much of all these falsities in order to step into this organic version of where we came from and of who we are truly. And that's okay. A lot of us, like I can see this, that even though I was surrounded by people, I was alone most of the time. And that gave way to vices. Because when you're living in a false sense of self, like, I mean, it could be in career, scholastically, it could be religiously, it could be culturally. And if it's not really who you are, you have a gaping void. Big void, because your soul is crying out, saying, please pick me, be you, stop being what everyone else wants you to be. And you fill it with alcohol, and you fill it with drugs, and you fill it with smoking, and you fill it with food, and you fill it with sex. You fill it with all these different diversions to get you to forget that you're not walking into your sense of self of who you truly are. And it's not to say that there aren't those persons that want to live that rock star lifestyle that are okay being there, but those vices of any form are really just diversions. They want to keep you away from seeing who you truly are. And I'm sorry, I had to learn that the hard way. I took 25 years to get there. I had to wait for God. I had to wait for God's bitch smack to say, hey, wake up, little girl. This is a big world out there and you've got a part to play in it. And if this video is finding you and you're here right now and this is where you are, then maybe I'm not bitch smacked today. And that's okay, because I wish someone bitch smacked me earlier. But it can only happen when it happens. Like I said, God's plan arrives when it arrives. And there is no more time for hatred. There's no more time for the falsity. I am tired, and I'm sure you guys are too, of seeing persons that literally try to devise a way to show hate in every motion in every way they can. And the hatred has no place anymore. Once you move from the fake self to the real self, you're going to find a lot more haters. And the reason being is because when you were living in the box, conform to what they wanted, and you were knuckling under, and you were laughing at stupid jokes, you were okay. You weren't weird. You weren't outcast. You weren't outsourced. And once you started ticking, or when you do tick, closer to who you truly are, when you don't fake laugh anymore, when you stand up for your rights, when you stand up for what you don't believe in, when you put your clothes back on, or when you tell yourself you're more than just the books you've read, or the prayers you've given, or the amount of volunteer hours you have in your back way. And you start to say, hey, me just being myself, working towards the enlightenment of the world, of being the better godly self that I am within myself on the inside, you know, you start to see that a lot of persons are not in agreement with this. And truly, as you walk closer and you get closer to yourself, you'll notice that you don't have time for the hate. I don't have any more time for, the lavender wearing nighty wearers with their eye masks, sitting on their golden thrones of nothing, pointing fingers down at all the other women that don't wear 5,000 layers of cream and don't wear what they wear as well. And I don't have any more time for these buff gentlemen saying sweet nothings to the world, trying to accrue numbers or pegs on their post. And I don't have any more time for those hombres out there that are using gimmicky toys to kind of overcast and overshoot the disgusting soul they are inside. And it's unfortunate that in this world that still works to a degree. And even in the spiritual community, I'm so tired of being put up to parameters. They're outside of what God wants me to be. I don't need to be in competition with any other spiritual beings. I don't need to be in competition with anyone else career-wise. Because you know what? The only person I give a crap about impressing is God. And the thing is that if you are a true light being and you are working through the heart, you realize at some point that all of us uplifting is a win for everyone. So trying to squash people and put down people and belittle people for the parameters that you think you're endowed because you have things like money or power or envy or fellowship, is not truly sufficient enough in a world that is going to be of light. We have to shed all of this old life that we were sold since we were children, since our parents imposed it on us, or any other person in our younger nature, the closest nature we are to our truest self, or was of our truest self. And in our spiritual journey now, and for the last years or for some time, we've been inching and inching towards, or even making huge strides towards, this new life, this new version of self, this new world. How can we ever have a new world if we're still bogged down and still in the parameters of the cookie cutter box, whatever that may be for you? So I come on here today because I really feel like there's someone that needs to hear this. I just feel it in my heart, and I go through the heart now. I did it before because when you go through the heart, yeah, sure, you might look ridiculous. Yeah, sure, it might not be conventional. Yeah, sure, not everybody is for you. But you want to know something? After I gave up all of those persons' lifestyle and all that, I can honestly say that every single last person in my life now is there for me, who I am truly. I don't put on the fake facades. I don't laugh at stupid jokes. I call out bullshit when I hear it. I don't try to conform to fit in anymore. It was I used to throw up a little in my inside of myself, having to listen to the bigotry and the racism and the belittlement of existence that swarmed around me and all persons out there. And really and truly, I still throw up a little bit in my mouth when I hear people on their mighty thrones of nothingness, when really we should all be working to help and strive to big each other up. Because again, we're all reflections of ourselves. We're all reflections and droplets of God down here. And wouldn't it be better to build us all up versus crush us all down, especially to get to this new world? So I leave you with this. If you're someone who is at this stage where it is scary to break out of the religious background, the career background, friendship background, familial background, because you got to understand when they say these, generational curse breakers, they're really talking about those that break out of the parameters that were put on from generation to generation. Do you think the society built up the way it was and is right now because of one generation? Nay, nay. It was built up of many, many, many generations. And you might be the first in your family to be different. And you might be the first in your friendship group to break out. And you might be the first in your culture to do something outside of the parameters of your religion or outside of the parameters of the box. And you know what? We find that too, like I said, in religion, because it's like, who's holier than thou, right? Who knows these things best? Does that matter when you're, really trying to belittle persons that don't know as much as you? Or as long as their heart is true and they give off love and show compassion everywhere they go, haven't they learned the verse truly? You might be able to recite it, but do you live it? There's a big difference. And that's the same parameters and boxes that are put on all of us, no matter what walk of life we are in, male, female, old, young, whatever color we are. To break out of all of those boxes is the true gift. To break out of all of those confines is God's true plan for you. Because you need to realize that it's you and God, right? You might be out there lonely, or you might be there with many now because you decided to be your truest, honest self. And we're in a world that needs and craves reality, realness versus the facade. Because if we cannot really be who we are, how can we cultivate this new world we all desperately want inside? We must be new. We must be reborn. We must revert to the sense of self that we always were, always am, are, always have been deep down inside. And this is the true test that we all face in this life, to cultivate that within our hearts, to be of the heart. Because I know for myself, when I wasn't of the heart, I was cheating myself. I was working for others. I was working and exhausting myself for everyone else. And now I work for me. And now everything I gain is authentic. And now everything I gain is stepping in God's path. And I've never been happier. Yeah, sure. I mean, I have all the trinkety shit. And I could if I wanted to, but I'd rather give it to someone else. And I'd rather help others with it. And I feel like that's an even bigger reward that I've ever felt. That warmth inside my heart is so much more plentiful than living in parameters and beats of drums of others that are not of my source creator. And if you're there too, and you're looking for a jumpstart, I hope I am that jumpstart today. And if you are scared, or you want some help, or you need some guidance, shoot me a message. I've spent many years living the facade, and I've spent all these new years being who I truly am. And I will tell you this, I've never felt more alive, more free, more in tune, and more me than I've ever been. So if you do need a higher self channeling as well, you can find me at Up High Healing, which is my other channel. I truly just want to bring forth all the goodness that I have to offer. I do help persons find connection to their higher self. And you may not need me for long. And when you do make that connection, you just roll with your own higher self. But if you're stuck in a place and you need some guidance or help, here I am. That's me. That's what I do. That's what I offer. And that was the gift that God gave me. And no longer do I sit in the confines of a cubicle beating to the drum of a lawyer or beating to the drum of a corporation anymore. I beat to the drum of God's plan. And I hope that what I offer can get you there too. Bye for now.